Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Ray Hall Tech. I know it's been a couple weeks since I've posted anything. I have some projects in the works that I'm just not quite finished with. That includes a little bit of a biography on me, so you get to know a little bit about me and my background. And I also built a throwback build to AMD, and once those videos are edited together and ready to publish, I will throw them up on the channel. But I want to focus on these three machines. I actually had somebody donate these to the channel, and I'm really excited because a couple of these, I don't have any of these in my collection. So this first one, right here in the middle, says Cybermax. I believe this is a 386 or a 486, and I'm going to tend to lean towards 486 because there is a USB card in here, and USB was supported with Windows 95 OEM Service Release 2.5 or Windows 98. So it may be a Pentium, but I don't think so because the keyboard connector is still an 8-pin DIN, making me think that the motherboard is still a little bit older than a Pentium. So I'm really excited about seeing what this one is. This computer here has a Windows 98 Second Edition license sticker on the top. So I believe that this is probably a later Pentium model, probably a Pentium 3. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. And it has a wireless card in it, so I believe that at some point this was upgraded to Windows XP because it supported Wi-Fi. But we'll see what we can find in each of these two computers, and I'm going to tear them apart in this video to see if we can figure out what they are and what we can do with them. So we'll talk a little bit more about each of them in turn. And then this computer is a Dell Computer. It's got a Windows XP Home license key on it. I do have a lot of Windows XP computers from the 2002-2003 era. I think most of them are AMD computers as I look down. They're like Athlon 2 X2s or Athlon 64 X2s. So with this one being an Intel Celeron, I might be able to find a Core i5 or i7, maybe a Core 2 quad, depending on the exact age of this computer, and get a little something better in here than the Celeron. But we'll take these apart and see what kind of computer each of these are. And let me say thank you to Ben and Tiffany for donating these to my channel. I appreciate it very much. So let's get into it. So my studio space is very limited. You can actually see this wood chair right behind me. That's actually my wife's desk where she's doing her author work right now. And my desk is just over here to the right. So I'm going to kind of take this apart from a distance, and I'll try and show you what I can in these computers by bringing them closer to the camera. And hopefully it will focus really well. But to get started, this first computer, it says it's from Newtrend. It has a note that it hasn't been used since November 2006. It says it would not power up. Took out the hard drive and CDRW to move to a different machine. The hard drive that is in here isn't hooked up because it was causing problems in that Cybermax machine. And so my understanding is that that Cybermax machine was their computer, then they upgraded to this one, and it started to have problems, so they took that hard drive, put it in here, and not 100% sure, but it does say the wireless component still works, so that could be used elsewhere, so I guess that's pretty cool. I'm willing to bet that the wireless card in here is pretty old, though, so I'm not sure that I would want to use it. But I'm hoping the not powering up issue will be the power supply. Again, to get started, I think this one's like a Pentium 2 or a Pentium 3. Based on the layout, it looks like it has an ATX power supply. And I know all of the hard drives were removed from these for data security purposes. So let me go ahead and see if I can't get that to release. And it looks like I'm incorrect. This is a Square CPU, so I'm not quite sure what it is. And here you can see the hard drive has been removed. So if we get in here, you can see layers of dust in here. And in a future video, I will repair these, get them all cleaned out, and make sure everything is working in them. So right now we're just going to identify the components and go from there. Alright, so the power supply says it's a PowerMan FSP 300, and so I'm assuming that is saying, yep, 300 watts. And let's go ahead and get some of these cables and stuff out of the way. And I won't put this whole computer back together. I will just leave the cables and stuff hanging in here. That way, when I go to take it apart for cleaning, we should be good to go. And just looking through here, I have an 80-pin IDE cable and a 40-pin IDE cable. You can tell because of the width of the cables. I wasn't ever sure what the 80-pin cable was for because IDE only uses 40. I didn't know if that was for data integrity or something like that, where two cables were carrying the signal, or if one got damaged or something like that. But that's okay, we can definitely figure it out. And as I pull this out, it looks like this power supply is all Molex with a couple of adapters. And it is an AT 20-pin style connector. So let me see if I can't get that unplugged. Looks like none of these have been disconnected for a while. There we go. Alright, so when it comes to power, we do have the old AT style connector, but I only see one of them in here. So I don't think this could actually be used in an AT case. So maybe there's something else that this particular P2 type connector was used for. But again, 20-pin ATX. And the rest of these cables are all tied up. And just making sure there's not another AT style connector in this mass, and there's not. It looks like the adapter is not an adapter, but is actually a case fan. So let me see if I have a pair of channel sticks in here, which it doesn't look like I do. I think they're in my bedroom. So we'll just use a pair of needle nose here and break this wire tie. And get some of this ketchup and mustard cabling out of here. Okay. So it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to pull out the power supply without breaking a few more ties. But I don't need to pull it out. I just want to kind of get them out of the way. Alright. So a little bit of fish line maybe, or hot glue it looks like, in here holding the graphics card in. I'm not sure what that's about. If I turn the camera here, maybe you can see that. It's right here. There's a little bit of a knot. So it looks like somebody tied this graphics card in for some unknown reason. So let me get my scissors to cut that. And there you go. You can see that fish line now. Hopefully it's focusing in the camera there. I don't believe that's necessary. But maybe they did it because this is an AGP style graphics card. And in AGP, it has a hook, just like a PCI Express card. But this card that's in here isn't long enough to catch that hook, and maybe they just wanted to make sure it did not come out. Okay. So, the moment of truth that we're all looking for. This is using a mounting system that I absolutely despise, because you have to push down towards the motherboard and it feels like I always slip and break it. So let me lay down the computer here and let's see if I can get this to pop off without it snapping into the motherboard. And that's exactly what I mean by I slip all the time. Let me try this again. Shut down. And I can't get it to come out. This is why I never liked this style of mounting system. It just feels like you got to do it just right to get it on and off. Ah, there we go. Whew. All right. So you can see that the die on that is very small. It is an AMD processor. It is not an Intel processor. And if I kind of rub the thermal paste, definitely needs to be replaced. It is in terrible shape. Not sure where my alcohol's at. So I did see that this is an AMD Athlon. Let me clean that off just a little bit more. There's quite a bit of dirt and stuff in here. Gross. Okay, so we're going to very gently open up this AMD processor. Can't quite see a model number on it. I'm going to have to search online for the model number. And we'll look up and see what that is here in just a minute. And I will throw it into the video here over this section. In addition to... that processor, we have 2 RAM sticks. It is Kingston Value RAM. It looks like PC 133/128, so I'm guessing 256 megabytes of RAM is what that looks like. And I don't know if you can see this in the camera here. Hopefully it'll focus. Come on. There it goes. You can see that dirt right up along the chips right here. That dirt is just a pile of dirt inside of the computer. So it definitely needs to be cleaned. And I don't want to try and stick the RAM back in there with that pile of dust. So let me brush that back, just so I can keep the RAM safe while I am working on this computer. Okay. So what other goodies did we get inside this? This is the next question we would like to answer. While I'm taking the cards out, the motherboard has 2 USB ports built in. It has PS2 ports for a keyboard and a mouse. It has a joystick port, 2 serial ports, and a parallel port. And, ooh, man, that is in there tight. Is there, oh, I see. It's kind of stuck under the screw next to it. There we go. Alright, the video card is an ATI 3D Rage Pro. Very common card back in the day. These aren't the greatest 3D cards, but they will work. I think I tried to play a lot of Turok Dinosaur Hunter on these cards, and this one probably has something like 64 megs of RAM on it, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've used one of these cards. Alright, the next goodie is not so much of a goodie. It's definitely a relic of an era gone by, but we do have a modem in here. It looks like it's a Lucent Win modem. I don't know if this is a soft modem or a hard modem, but I can always look up the specs on that later. Then the Wi-Fi card that was definitely added after this motherboard and computer was originally built. This is just some kind of MediaTek. This is an ADM8211, so we'll look up and see what kind of card that is, and I do have the antenna for it. The next card, I'm kind of excited about this. I'm hoping it's I was hoping it was a Sound Blaster card that was an ISA slot card, but it is a PCI card. But it looks like it's a Sound Blaster of some kind, and it is a Sound Blaster CT4750. I'm not sure exactly what model that is, but it's probably like a Sound Blaster PCI something, not 100% DOS compatible. But we'll look up the exact specs of that in the video where we cover this machine. And with that, this machine is taken apart for the most part. One nice thing about it, you can't quite see maybe, but back in the day, right here in front of my finger is a little blue thermistor. It actually sits up off the board to sense the temperature of the chip. But this computer is AGP, PCI, and then there's that little slot at the bottom that's actually called an AMR slot. It's an audio modem riser slot. It was built for cards to connect directly to like the AGP bus did instead of the PCI bus. So with that, that's pretty much this whole computer. Something's broken there, and it didn't start up, but what I've just noticed here is there's a loose screw right here, so maybe something was shorting it out, and I might get lucky and not have a blown power supply. But I do have plenty of ATX style power supplies, and we should be good to go if this is a power supply issue. But in a future video, I will get this computer torn apart, cleaned up, and we will get it back to a working state, hopefully. With that, let me get this one switched out and put in the next computer. Now that we've taken a look at that socket A computer, I'm going to pull open this Dell. This should go a little bit faster. Again, all of the hard drives and stuff have been removed, so as you can see, I've got mounting hardware in here. But this machine is really, really dirty. You can see if I pull it out, it is just gross. So this machine will definitely be getting a good cleaning before I try and fire it up. And if I have something that will work with it, maybe I will upgrade this from a Celeron, like I said, to something more useful. But the first thing I'm going to pull out is RAM. And we have 128 megs of DDR RAM. So this is going to be like a Core 2 probably era system, I'm going to guess. It's definitely not going to be very, we'll say, collectible. And this has one of those weird Dell mounting systems. If I can get it out, come on. It's a plastic mounting clip. Not sure why. There it goes. It wouldn't let go. But so you have these plastic mounts, and the Dell mount comes up, and this kind of clips in place, and it pushes down on the sides of the heatsink here. Oh, and the heatsink is super glued in place. Let me get rid of more of this nastiness. Okay, hopefully I can get this out. It really does not want to come out. Ah, there it goes. Alright, so more of a traditional size CPU die that I can see there without having actually taken it apart. Before I go any farther, I'm going to lift this up for you, and you can see how much dirt is in and around the socket. So I'm not going to pull this CPU out of the socket because I don't want that to get in behind the pins. So we're just going to dry wipe it. Alright, so this is an Intel Celeron. It is a 2.2 gigahertz with 128 megs of cache and a 400 megahertz outside bus. So that is an early 2002 chip. I'm going to guess Pentium 4 class chip. I'll have to confirm that. I know there was a little bit of Pentium 3, Pentium 4 mix architecture, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. I think the last Intel chip I had was a Pentium 4. It was the 3 gigahertz and the C revision. I believe that was the Northwood core. I don't know too much about Intel architectures in this area because I jumped to AMD and spent a lot of time working with AMD at this point in my career. And again, like I said, here's the heatsink and these little plastic clips. They actually just sit on the side of this heatsink, if I do this correctly. And you can see that it just pushes down on the heatsink with this clipped into the plastic prongs that come up from the motherboard. So nothing too very exciting there. But this computer has everything integrated. Nothing too much to see in this computer. And it does also have a modem. Again, it's Windows XP Home, so not terribly exciting, but hopefully we can get this computer up and running. And there's all kinds of dirt in that RAM socket, so I'm not going to put the RAM back in this computer because I don't want to shove that dirt in there and then have a hard time cleaning it out later. So I'm just going to leave this whole computer disassembled because it's collected a lot of dust over the years. This one, again, is a 20-pin AT power supply like the other one. And it does use a pretty standard AT form factor back with audio VGA, serial, PS2 mouse and keyboard, parallel port, and it looks like this one has 4 USB ports instead of 2. Where's the side case? Let me get this one taken down, and we'll take a look at the last donated computer, and we'll see what that one is. So this last computer is labeled as a Cybermax Computer. As you can see, it's got the 3.5-inch floppy, and the CD-ROM here says it's an 8.4 writer and a 32X reader. It's got a nice big reset button and power switch. These do feel normal, but this is an AT style connector, so the switch physically turns the power supply on and off. It is wired to main, and if you turn around the computer here, let me get it a little bit farther back, you can see that this is not your standard AT computer. Everything is added to the computer with an expansion card. I expect to find ribbon cables to the motherboard for these. I'll have to fix that parallel port there, but the serial port seems to be missing one of its screws as well. But we have an 8-pin DIN connector for the keyboard and a PS2 for mouse. Then it looks like some kind of VGA card, another Sound Blaster card, and then down here we have a modem. And this one seems to be a voice modem. It has the audio in and out jack, so this is one of the modems that you could use with your computer to place phone calls from your computer back in the day. And I think this USB card was added. If you look at the strip here, everything on this strip is labeled except for the USB ports, so I believe this is an aftermarket modification. And I need my screwdriver. What did I do with it? Alright, with this one we have to pull off the whole case, so I got to remove all 4 of the screws. Hopefully it's just 4 screws. That one wasn't in very tight. And once I get the 4 screws out, we should be able to pull the whole computer case off of the computer. One thing you'll notice about this power supply is it has the in connection from the mains, just like most standard computers. Feels like that screw's stripped. I can't quite get it out. But it also has this other socket that you could use back in the day to go from your computer into your monitor. So you had one connection for both of your devices at the socket. Yeah, that screw is completely stripped out, or it's the wrong kind of screw. Yeah, it's the wrong kind of screw, thankfully. So hopefully that hole's not stripped and I don't have to retap it, but that's a screw for like a CD-ROM. So no big issue there. Alright, so we're going to pull this case back, and it should lift off and we get the whole case off of the side because of the era of this computer. And again, I thought this one was a 486 just because of that USB card and whether or not it would have had Windows 98 or 95 on it. And when I look in here, it says it's an M5 ATC Revision 1 motherboard, but it's not immediately obvious to me what processor is in here. I do see how the heatsink comes off, so let me get that off real quick. Hopefully I can just do it with my finger, and it doesn't seem to be cooperating that way. There it goes. The retainer clip does seem to be a little bit broken, but there it goes. Oh, this is pretty cool. It's actually using a Cyrix M2. This is a 266 megahertz chip. So this is going to be a Pentium class machine, but it is a Cyrix chip, and I definitely do not have any Cyrix chips. I believe I bought one of the first Cyrix chips that ever came out, but I traded that computer away eons ago, and that's pretty exciting that it is a Cyrix M2. Let me get this put back in to protect it. Looks like it goes in this way. And in the video when I tear this apart, I'll be able to show you the jumpers and stuff that you had to use to set this motherboard. Unlike today's computers, the BIOS doesn't allow you to set the options for the CPU. You actually did that via jumpers on the motherboard. So let me go ahead and get this connected, or disconnected I should say. This one is pretty dirty too. I don't know if you can see the hair and stuff that is in there, but I wonder why this came apart. I'm not 100% sure, but I need to fix that. But this heatsink just has a thermal pad on it instead of thermal paste. And again, there's no hard drives in this, but we've got a floppy drive. And it looks like we have two different 40-pin IDE ribbon cables in here. Alright. So the next thing that we're gonna take apart. Again, I have this voice modem. Let me pull that out. This is an ISA voice modem with a connection directly into the sound card. Let me see if I can get that out. So, voice modems, typically you had to connect into the sound card with a similar cable that you used for your CD-ROMs. But this also is a Lucent modem as well. And we'll look up more about this model in the video where we clean and get this PC back up and running. The next card is definitely a sound card. It is a Sound Blaster Audio PCI or an Ensoniq Audio PCI. I'm not sure the revision yet. Okay, so this is the Ensoniq version. This one is still before Creative Labs and Ensoniq were merged together. So this is an Ensoniq Audio PCI. And then the video card. This video card happens to be a PCI video card. I haven't had a PCI video card in a while. But it is a Velocity 128, so it's an STB card. I don't think I've ever owned an STB card, so this will be fun to play with. It is NVIDIA Riva is the brand of this, so like a NVIDIA Riva 128. So that'll be fun to play with. This one is from 1997. So we're looking at a Windows 98 computer. So I will probably try and put Windows 98 Second Edition on this computer and the other white computer that I just took apart. But it's really cool now that I have an AMD Athlon. I don't have any Athlons. I only have Athlon 64s and newer, and I don't have any Cyrix in any generation, so I'm really excited about these two computers, and I really look forward to getting them up and running, and I hope you'll join me in a future video for that. Thank you so much for watching the discovery with me as I determined what we had here. I'll track down some IDE hard drives, or I will have to buy IDE to compact flash adapters or something to get operating systems on these, but I'm sure we can get them up and running without too much effort, as long as the components are good. Like I said, the one that doesn't turn on, I'm hoping it's just a power supply because I have those aplenty, and we will go from there. So if you like my channel, please definitely subscribe. If you like my content in this video, give me that thumbs up, and I will see you in a future video.